curse. The gift is the luxury of a great supporting cast. Got a lot of weapons around him to throw to. The curse is, with those weapons to throw to, bro, we're expecting production. We're expecting wins from the jump. And if we're not getting them, people are going to freak out. I don't buy any of this talk about patience. That's the epic line from Ed Norton in American History X, right? It's a serious movie. It's a heavy movie, but there's a great line in it where it's like there's a lot of hard talk and not a lot of follow through. That's what it's going to be like with the Vikings. For any Vikings fan, it's like, oh, we got to be patient over it. For any just football fan, it's like, yeah, you got to give them a little bit of time. It's like, yeah, that's a lot of hard talk. There's not going to be a lot of follow through. But they get off to a rough start. I've seen it time and time again. You have too, watching the NFL. It's the best formula for a huge letdown. A team with realistically high expectations and high goals. It gets out of the blocks a little slowly. They lose a couple of games, and then what happens? They start pressing. And then it gets way worse. The Vikings are at least a candidate to be the biggest curveball team. A lot of people are high on them. I could see them being a gigantic disappointment. The same thing is fair. The complete other way around. There are some people that are like, yeah, you know what? They're not saying they're going to win 15 games. They're not going crazy with their expectations. And if you look at the Vikings season win total, just the betting market here, they're up to 9.5. And again, the over is plus money, plus 110. If you bet $100, you would win $110. Typically, Vegas doesn't do you favors like that. Like, hey, you're betting 100, here's 110. Like, they normally don't do that. Like, you're betting 100, here's $63.27. There you go. Enjoy your 63 bucks right there, jackass. Probably give it back to us tomorrow. That's the way it typically goes with betting. But you're getting plus money to the over 9.5. Right? So, not like epic faith in the Vikings from the betting market, but I will say that I think you'd make an argument the other way around. For the Vikings to be the biggest surprise curveball, let's say J.J. McCarthy, he's really good. He's a talented kid, top 10 pick. He sat for an entire season. Sometimes that's a formula for success for a lot of quarterbacks. Let's just say based on great supporting cast, Kevin O'Connell, really sharp offensive mind. He puts his quarterback time and time again in great positions to succeed. Let's say J.J. McCarthy does. Did Sam Darnold revive his career last year? Could great success happen for J.J. McCarthy? Yeah, could. So I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth when it comes to the Vikings. I think it's probably the only team you could say this for. I think they're actually a candidate to be the biggest surprise team in a good way. I think they're a candidate to be the biggest surprise team in a bad way. And be the biggest disappointment. I think they're live for both. I'm so interested to see the Vikings this season, but those are a couple of teams, high expectations. What's at least the path? What's the formula to explain a possible fall off, right? Next hour we'll get positive here. We'll look at teams that not high expectations, low season totals, but maybe more Washington Commanders. Who are the teams that are capable of pulling a stunner? Where you're like, I cannot believe fill in the blank turned out to be the biggest surprise team in a good way this season. Was at least capable of doing that. We'll do that next hour. Looking forward to that. I love trying to find the biggest surprise team in the NFL. Coming up next.
Dusty Egbert hello colon 3. Billy Dafkin you look like king of the penis. Amanda Robertson hi. Dusty Egbert he. Ooh hello Ted. Dusty Egbert open it. Dusty Egbert please. The blood of God is powerful. I want gummy bear song. Ghoul surprised and dismayed face with eyebrows. Hazen sisters, you're so beautiful. Hazen sisters, you're welcome. Apostle Rin, what are those?
Hazen sisters, wat dat?
Apostle Rin, what's in them?
Oh, I'm going to say something. You know, the 49ers have a 4-game losing streak. Do you think this Denver has a 1-game winning streak? The Bengals had a winning streak. They lost it. Seattle had a 1-game winning streak. Now the Raiders have a 1-game winning streak. I was just checking the standings from last year to look at current winning streaks, calculating current winning streaks. The Jets have a winning streak. The Packers have lost 2 in a row. I listened to the Jets head coach today. They said they're playing. They're playing. So, but that's not today. I wish the Jets and Packers, I'm hyped up for that game. But today we got 3 games. And yesterday the Raiders had a tie, 23-23. Little surprised by that. But today, the Browns on the road versus the Panthers. Maybe Andy Dalton will play. So let's just look at Andy Dalton. I haven't. You guys who wrote so much. Kind of boring games. I would, if I would have sat there, and I would have fully expected the game to tie. The Raiders had a tie in the preseason 3 years ago versus the Rams. And it was this close to being a tie game in Philadelphia, the Bengals and Eagles. The Colts game wasn't very close. The Colts game. But the horrific injuries, some good action. Now, then I look at Stevie Richards complain about Roman Reigns diving over the ropes for no reason other than to pop the crowd. And I guess that was at MetLife Stadium, because the Jets are on the road and the Giants are on the road. Where are the Giants playing at? There's no football at MetLife Stadium this weekend. There's 2 games at SoFi. Fights at practice. The Redskins and Patriots are fighting each other during joint practices. A lot of joint practice injuries. Everybody's coming up limp this week. The Bengals came through today with no injuries. that Jamar Chase made one of the greatest catches of his career. He did. Today, one of the greatest things I've ever seen. One of the most important things ever seen in the history of the universe. It happened today, and the Eagles squeaked out with a win. That was a good touchdown by Chase. With the sideline shot where you see the kid with the Chase jersey up in the top. That kid. Think about the kids in Ohio. Even the kids are in the picture wearing that Chase jersey. Okay, anyways. Yeah, tomorrow is Joe Flacco versus Andy Dalton Classic. This is like the 20th time these quarterbacks line up against each other in a preseason game. The home team has not lost a game, so the way we're leaning. The Lions were the road team in the Hall of Fame. The Chargers won. They were the home team. They won. Today, Baltimore won at home. The Eagles won at home. The Seahawks did not lose at home. They had a tie. So tomorrow, you can just lean the home team. We expect Atlanta to win at home. Carolina to win. And even the Patriots, who double check win streaks. When is the last? The Patriots have a 1-game winning streak. So even though they didn't make the playoffs, they walked off the field as winners last time. And the Redskins, the Commanders, we're lucky they didn't play the Rams. The Commanders lost in the playoffs last year. They're coming off a loss, and they're playing on the road again. They still leading the home tomorrow. Take the Patriots. Yeah, listen to my radio again.
You love these musical categories too. I know you, Mary Maxie. Think of I would say a couple off the top of my head. The New Level from Pantera, Dimebag Darrell, rest in peace, amazing guitar player.
Lucifer 666, a vampire walks into a bar and asks the bartender for a boiling glass of water. Bartender says, "I thought you vampires only drank blood." Vampires pull out a tampon and says, "I'm having tea."
So far ahead of his time.
Here.
And that was a great solo on that.
This vampire was born yesterday because he just wrote that joke for the first time. Usually, this vampire embarrassed himself with some old ass joke. How? Obviously, you haven't watched Highlander. You must be one of those. Somebody bit this guy. He's not a real vampire. He just got bit by something yesterday. You could just, you're playing Skyrim. Maybe you can be a vampire in Skyrim, or Morrowind, or Elder Scrolls, Oblivion. One of those versions. You're on that vampire DLC. What's really going on? I didn't go out and buy beer yet today. All I did was hook up, eat my beans, 3 tortillas, and I finished my chips. 126. I was not live during football games. Trying to go live during a preseason game is just like, it's just going to be me staring and not getting updates because most of the broadcasters are having technical difficulties getting their information and having their sources lag. Like first stop Bengals, his sources lag minutes. I only smoke half of the day because I sleep the other half. I stop over half of the time. It's 1:27 in the morning. I don't got anything to do. I ate a big meal. Yeah. Good. I just want to sit here for an hour and look at my battery. I don't think I'm gonna make it that far. We're at 73%. Yeah, I can make it. The radio scores in 33 minutes. And then I have to do something for 10. So watch out. I'm really dropping my cup. Feel like buying butter. Maybe I'll buy a slab of bacon. I'm really thinking about cooking what, 12 slices of bacon at once? We're gonna go back. People are sleeping. I could go outside.
你觉得日本国旗像什么？没想到的是，一旁的鬼子军官听得懂英语，于是立马将女人揪了出来，惩罚女人跪在地上，双手被反绑，前后左右插上尖刺，一旦女人支撑不住，就会被尖刺扎穿身体。军官要求女人道歉，但却遭到女人的拒绝。就这样，在40多度高温下，女人跪了1天1夜，依然拒绝向鬼子道歉。鬼子军官恼羞成怒，于是拔出武士刀，对准了女人的脖子，然后用力砍了下去。一旁的俘虏们都吓坏了。从此之后，对鬼子言听计从。于是鬼子立马挑选了一批年轻漂亮的女俘虏，单独带到了高级军官的住所。鬼子在桌子上摆满食物，然后让翻译告诉这群女俘虏，只要愿意。
People want dry, crispy bacon. You don't want butter is used to moisten things. So in general, you don't put butter in a breakfast burrito. You'd be mixing butter with eggs because the burrito should be tomato-based sauce. You know, it's having butter and tomatoes don't mix. That's why. Bacon belongs in a burrito. Butter doesn't belong in a burrito. You sure you brown it. You can brown the shell with a Dutch press, right? Yeah, whatever. Most people don't grill their burritos on the outside. They just don't. You're trying to make the line take forever, asking for that. Go do that shit at Chipotle. You'd be pissing off the people behind you. Do that shit. Go ahead and just look at Saturday's games. New York Giants in Buffalo. You know, this might be the last time the Giants ever play at the stadium. That's right, they're going to tear the stadium down. And the Giants will never play at this place again. And a lot of teams playing in Buffalo, they won't be back for four years. They'll be on the invite only, where Buffalo can hand select and pick any preseason opponents they want next year. So who would Buffalo want to play in the preseason? Ideally, 3 NFC teams. Probably straight up have the Giants. It'll be back-to-back next year in the preseason, week 1. Same schedule, Bills and Giants calling it now. The only team worthy in New York, but maybe they don't want the Giants fans there for the opening, because it'll be the opening of the Bills Stadium, of the new Bills Stadium. That's like the most prestige, dude, that's prestigious. And then Nashville is opening up. In 2 years, everybody's going to be begging to play in Tennessee once they get their new stadium. That's what it's all about, you know. And with all these new stadiums, there's not going to be one at Levi until maybe Super Bowl 70. But that's too prestigious to get the Super Bowl every 10 years. What's Roman numeral 70 look like anyways? Right now we're in a B. Yeah, who should play? Yeah, I think they could play the Redskins or the Cowboys. Prior Super Bowl opponents. The Bills lost 4 Super Bowls to 3 different teams, including the Giants. So this is a Super Bowl 20 rematch on Saturday, and they'll probably rematch it again in 300, next August. And with Tennessee shutting down Tennessee's on the road starting this season in Tampa Bay in a game nobody wants to watch. Nobody wants to watch Tennessee versus the Buccaneers. I hate the Buccaneers. Sometimes they do me a favor and they beat their win could help my situation. But in general, dude, I can't. I like the Seahawks way more, and I'm the same age. The Buccaneers were born in '76. I was born in '76. The Seahawks were born in '76. The Raiders won the Super Bowl 11 in the '76 season. It's been 24 plus 24. It's been 48 years since both teams. The Raiders first Super Bowl is the same age as the Seahawks franchise, and today they tied. And if you add the scores together, it's 48, which means 48 years ago in 1977, the Raiders and the Buccaneers had their first offseason. They actually switched to the AFC. It's more like the Raiders and Buccaneers have the same persona. They're pirates, and there were too many pirates in the AFC, so they kicked Tampa out of the AFC, and the Raiders, they would never have a history of playing the Seahawks. Right now, the Raiders and Seahawks look at each other like cousins. but it wasn't supposed to be that way. Tennessee, new stadium. For them, they'd probably have the 49ers come down and play the preseason opener, because the 49ers lost last preseason in the first week to the Tennessee Titans. So I didn't want to hear anybody. I was very pleased last year when the Tennessee Titans beat the 49ers. Everybody thought they were all great and shit. They lost 4 games in a row to end the season, and they started the season with the loss to Tennessee. I mean, if you can't just look at the end of the season. You have to remember the first game of the season, because if you can't win, if you can't beat Tennessee, guys, I'm telling you, and this year is Denver coming in to play a competitive game in memory of Super Bowl 50. The Chiefs have a game in Arizona that, you know, not a lot of people are going to be there. Pittsburgh is spending their one weekend in Florida right now. I get the wrestling report that television ratings this week were very high. AEW beat WWE in the ratings for the second time in the last year. Maybe because the out-of-towners are catching shows. I would kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm saying there's a lot of people from Pittsburgh and Jacksonville right now, so if they okay, well, I'll talk about the Vikings and the Texans now. A thriller, a similar situation. Nobody has any faith in these 2 teams. Joe Mixon's hurt. All the Texan running backs are hurt. J.J. McCarthy at home. I would really expect Minnesota to win, but Houston plays indoor, so there's no advantage to a change of scenery. Both indoor teams can play good indoor, and the game doesn't mean nothing except keep local Minnesota people happy. I'll take the Minnesota. Do I think the Giants can beat the Buffalo? Yeah, I think they do. I'll take the Giants over. I'm not stupid. Every single time I'll take the Giants over the Buffalo. Soldier Field is also closing soon. This could be the very last Dolphins game at Soldier Field. You don't understand how big this week is. We're lucky Tampa Raymond James didn't get destroyed in the hurricane because they hit Tropicana. I wish I would trade all the damage at Tropicana for damage. You know, Raymond James would have been cheaper to repair. It didn't need a new roof. He just wipe it up. Tampa really got screwed by that hurricane. They hit them twice in a week. That one came through twice, and I think the roof came off on the second time. That was some bullshit. They almost survived it. Chargers had the winning streak. Let me look at the Saints. The Saints, did they win their last game? They have lost 4 in a row. Who has the longest streak of losses? Only 2 teams. Well, okay, the Titans have 6 losses in a row. The Browns have 6 losses in a row. It's important I got to that. That's more valuable to remember that when I calculate tomorrow's result. The Browns have 6 losses in a row. But the Panthers have a 1-game winning streak, guys. So I'm gonna tell you, my guy Andy Dalton had they had a good season. They ended their season on a win. That's all that matters. That's all that matters. Sometimes missing the playoffs is good. The Bengals had that 4-game winning streak. Now they still technically have that 4-game winning streak going into week 1, but I look at every game. Other people don't. You play 20 games a year, 21 if you're in the Hall of Fame game. 0.5% of the season is over. My clock says 1:43. I don't check to individual leaders after halfway through the first week. But I could. And 49ers preseason last year. The Saints came into town, and I really wanted the Saints to win. And then the 49ers had a tie in Vegas. It's not normal for the NFC to play an NFC team in the preseason. So an NFC team on the road versus the 49ers being greedy, not being cool with the Saints. They canceled joint practices or something. Like, I was really disappointed by the amount of time the Saints spent in town. Like, they seem to not show up. I don't think, we've seen some teams not have joint practices, some teams do. And Kyle Shanahan is just, I can't wait to hear his excuse. Listen to Grant Cohn. And my nose is more straighter than Dave Lombardi. I'm going to wrap up this episode because I went over everything. Good episode.